craziest exposed moments on paternity court.
She wasn't sure, and until she was sure, she led him to the water and let him keep drinking. This is clear as day from this seat. And so at this point, all we have left to get down to the bottom of this.
But you don't trust him as far as you can throw him, and you don't trust her.
I wouldn't trust him in my face, though.
When he was messing with her, he was messing with me.
Right, and now she pregnant. This might be his baby.
Mr. McRae believes he's the father of Miss Moore's daughter, DeMiracle. He claims Miss Moore made him believe this for 10 months before telling him he isn't the father. Emotionally, he hasn't seen DeMiracle in over a year and claims she's all he thinks about, affecting his personal relationships.
That's my world right now. That's all I've been thinking about. I can't have a good relationship with a female because that's all I think about. My focus is on her. She's so gorgeous.
Yes, she is.
And the more I look at her, she looks like me.
I don't think so.
Mr. McRae believed he was in a committed relationship with Miss Moore for 4 years after they met on Facebook. The first 2 years went well, but then issues arose. Miss Moore accused him of cheating, and she felt controlled by Mr. McRae. He questioned her whereabouts, especially on one occasion when she worked late, making her feel suffocated.
And we met on Facebook. We decided to hook up.
First 2 years, it was good and everything. Then after that, it started getting bad and all that other stuff, catching, cheating, and all that other stuff. I just had to let it go because last few years, he tried to be a father figure to me, telling me what I should and should not do. I cannot go here, I cannot go there. And like one night I worked late and he was like, "Where was you at?"
During their 4-year relationship, Miss Moore claims they had sex only 3 or 4 times. In this brutal fight, Mr. McRae disagrees with Miss Moore's claim. He felt deeply connected during her pregnancy, even experiencing sympathetic symptoms. He mentioned shared food cravings, like stinking peanut butter. Mr. McRae confirms he was so invested that he signed the birth certificate.
You are the legal father listed on this birth certificate.
Yes, Your Honor.
At the time you signed this, you had no doubt you were the biological father?
I had no doubt.
So, Ms. Moore, why is his name listed as the legal father on her birth certificate if you say you knew he was not the biological
Because
father?
while I was drugged up in the hospital, he had signed the papers.
Miss Moore explains that she allowed Mr. McRae at the hospital during the birth and let him sign the birth certificate because she was drugged and couldn't make decisions. Her husband couldn't attend due to personal issues. She suggests Mr. McRae wouldn't have been there if her husband had been present. They were cohabitating at the time.
Now, if this is not your husband, you weren't married to him, and you say you didn't believe he was the biological father of this child, he said he wasn't leaving unless a body bag took him out or security.
Right.
Well, then why wouldn't you just call security?
Because I was already drugged up. They had with epidural in me and everything, so I wouldn't be able to remember anything because I was in so much pain.
Miss Moore explained that she had informed Mr. McRae that DeMiracle wasn't his child. Despite this, he continued to be present during his bond with the child. He gained access to DeMiracle through Miss Moore's grandmother. Mr. McRae's efforts to be proved as the father were in vain. The DNA result will reveal if Miss Moore's suspicions were right.
The biological father is Mr. Moore. He is the biological father. Can you accept that?
I could have said it hurts.
I know.
I gotta move on. She's still pretty to me.
Of course she is.
Because I was in foster care. I didn't know my father. I don't even know my dad. He walked in this room right now. And for her to be confused and not knowing who her dad is.
Miss Henderson accuses Mr. Goodson of neglecting their 4-year-old daughter. Both seek paternity tests. Mr. Goodson alleges Miss Henderson's infidelity and claims she was involved with both him and his cousin around the same time. Miss Henderson denies this, mentioning meeting his cousin on a chat line. Will this lead the couple towards a brutal fight?
I met his cousin on the chat line. So far, when we met on the chat line, I was just looking for friends, on a regular basis, and smoke and drink. So one day he came to pick me up, a white truck, bumping music all out or whatnot, or whatever. He in the back car, like looking at me like, ooh, he wanted me or whatever.
In a court setting, Miss Henderson recalls a time when Mr. Goodson allegedly stole his mother's car to see her, which he laughs off. The two recount their tumultuous relationship and how it began, including Mr. Goodson's involvement with her after his cousin. Their relationship intensifies, leading them to become sexually involved, especially after Mr. Goodson's release from jail.
Became involved sexually.
And sexually, after he got out of jail still in the car, he called me like, can I come see you or whatnot? And I'm like, yeah. He came to see me again, but this time it was with his Caucasian homeboy and his son. And so I hopped in the van with them. We went to their house.
Did you check the registration?
No.
Miss Henderson and Mr. Goodson argue about their past relationship. Mr. Goodson questions if she had relations with both him and his cousin, which she denies. Their unprotected sexual relationship lasted a year, and they broke up after he allegedly informed her about being with another woman. Mr. Goodson suggests he wasn't aware they were exclusive.
I just feel like, you know what I'm saying, at the time, she was a little bit older than me or whatever, so I liked it that she was older.
And she was about his age, first of all.
Listen, I never lied about her age.
Oh my God.
But like I was saying, she had a little bit of money. I didn't have no money. I couldn't work at the time. I was a little bit younger than her. So you know what I'm saying, the money what kind of got me into liking her.
Judge Lake asks for clarification about the relationship between Mr. Thomas and Miss Henderson. Mr. Thompson describes their interaction as a one-night stand after a possible night of drinking. Judge Lake confirms that either Mr. Thompson or his cousin, Mr. Goodson, could be the potential father based on the circumstances presented.
It's like a one-night thing. You know how it be some nights you might get drunk, be with somebody, might turn you on, just happen.
Right.
Okay, so it was a one-night stand.
Yes,
So either you or your cousin, Mr. Goodson, is the father.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas. You may have a seat.
While in a relationship, there were instances of mutual attempts to incite jealousy. One day, after calling a man on her phone, the man claimed the child as his own, raising doubts for the caller. This claim added to the ongoing games of jealousy and mistrust. When the child was born, a DNA test was requested.
Basically, she'd call guys in my face or whatever, and I used to call guys, I used to call girls in her face, like, to make each other mad or whatever. So one day, I got in her phone one day, I called this dude in her phone, and then the dude answered the phone, he was like, we had changed some words with each other. And then he was like, yeah, this my son.
Miss Torrey denies cheating on Mr. Goodson and reveals a tattoo of his name on her neck as proof. In response, Goodson mentions he also has her name tattooed on him. The trust issues continue, and the courtroom becomes intense as allegations arise about potential infidelities and another pregnancy. Only the DNA result can reveal the truth.
Mr. Goodson, you are the father.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoa. I don't think I have to say much because your mother has said it all. Mr. Goodson, I don't know if you think this is a joke, what it means to be a man and a father.
Miss Wyatt and Mr. Roberts are in court over the paternity of their daughter, London. Married after 2 months, their relationship is strained due to Mr. Roberts suspecting Miss Wyatt's ex might be the father. Miss Wyatt believes Mr. Roberts is using this doubt to hide his infidelity. They're considering divorce.
Our marriage is on the verge of divorce right now. First of all, he's denying our daughter, and I think it's just to cover up the fact that he's, does a lot of cheating. Like, for instance, one time I went to the store, and a neighbor, he's 17 years old, and he came to the car and was like, hey, and Greg just got upset for nothing. He's just so insecure and so jealous.
Miss Wyatt and Mr. Roberts are brutally arguing over the involvement of exes in their relationship. Mr. Roberts claims that every time they argue, Miss Wyatt has one of her exes come over. Miss Wyatt retorts that she doesn't invite them arbitrarily and accuses Mr. Roberts of retreating to his family and letting them see him cheat on her.
I've never, ever just called the ex over just to call the ex over. Like,
Okay.
if we get into an argument and he either leaves or I make him go home to his mom, which he loves to do because he always runs back to them, telling them stuff about me. Matter of fact, his mom and his sisters, they all watch him cheat on me.
In court, Miss Wyatt revealed she recently lost a baby. She needed to visit her doctor, and with a flat tire, she relied on 2 exes for assistance, as Mr. Roberts was unavailable and her family was distant. She emphasized their respect for Mr. Roberts. Tensions escalate in the discussion.
Your Honor, first of all, the reason why I went to the hospital is I was pregnant. So the hospital, they pretty much, the person that was caring for me, the doctor that was caring for me so that she can take care of me. He couldn't fix the tire. Family don't like us, so I had to call whoever else I had to call. I'm in Florida. My family is in California.
In court, an incident arose where Mr. Roberts' best friend received texts from Miss Wyatt. She admits to texting, aiming to prove a point, as Mr. Roberts had online dating profiles and she was being contacted by other women who claimed to be dating her husband. Tensions continue to heighten.
Throughout our marriage, he had online profiles. I've had women contact me saying, are you married to him? Because that's my boyfriend. I'm like, we're married. How is that your boyfriend? I don't know any other way. Honestly, I don't know any other way to let him know how I feel. So I tried to get him back.
Miss Wyatt expresses her frustration, admitting to creating online profiles as a way to move on from Mr. Roberts if he doesn't change. She feels like she's raising her husband alongside their children. Mr. Roberts counters, accusing her of not being a real woman and pointing out her tendency to throw him out frequently.
What man, you feel me, gon' be always the man if every time a problem go down, you throws him out like almost every week?
Your Honor,
like
You get thrown out every week?
It's just about
everything.
How is he with your daughter?
I don't know. He's okay. He treats all the kids like he doesn't buy any Pampers, any wipes. I have to do it all.
Mr. Roberts reflects on his past, drawing parallels between his current relationship with Miss Wyatt and his childhood experiences. He recalls his parents splitting up when he was in 5th grade and the subsequent challenges, including being thrown out by his mother at 15 and turning to the streets and drug dealing to help with bills. Does the DNA result reunite them?
Mr. Roberts, you are her father.
Exactly.
Are you happy?
Exactly.
Are you ready to get in the game? And I'm not talking about football.
Amen for that.
I'm talking about getting in the game.
We'll see.
Of trying to save your family. I think it's obvious Miss Wyatt loves you.
Mr. Conway denies being the father of 20-year-old Trayvon Cruz and owes $53,000 in back child support, resulting in numerous arrests. Miss Cruz insists Mr. Conway is Trayvon's father and believes he is avoiding child support payments. Conway highlights complications from multiple child support orders.
Well, I'm paying child support in Nebraska, but he has 2 orders. 1 order in Nebraska, 1 order in Missouri. I didn't know nothing about exactly where they was in 2005 until I got arrested.
And you've never hired an attorney to deal with this issue?
Ma'am, this is the problem. If I had to get an attorney, I had to get an attorney from Missouri, but I live in Nebraska.
In this brutal fight between them, Miss Cruz claims Mr. Conway hasn't contributed to their son's upbringing. Conway alleges payments made in Nebraska, but Miss Cruz refutes this. When she inquired, Nebraska had no record of such payments. Despite Conway's claims, Miss Cruz says she sporadically received minimal amounts, like $29 or even $3.
This guy's calling me, harassing me, saying they're taking $700 and something out of my check. I said, I'm not receiving nothing. I'm not receiving no aid for the state or anything. So why am I not getting my money? I want my money if he's paying it.
So you haven't received any support?
It's impossible.
Off and on, $29.
Impossible, Your Honor.
$29 here, there's some $3 here. He did nothing.
Mr. Conway alleges that in the hospital, he was advised not to sign the birth certificate. Miss Cruz, refuting this, says he wasn't present when the document was provided. Although he claims he was present during her C-section, she emphasizes that by the time of the birth certificate's arrival, he had left.
In the hospital room, the nurse came in, she told me not to sign the birth certificate.
Wow.
Tell me I'm lying, TT.
You lying.
Is that true?
You lying.
Come on,
Your Honor.
Well, why isn't he on this birth certificate?
I'm not on the birth certificate.
He was missing in action.
I was at the hospital when you was born. You had a C-section. I was there.
Exactly. You was there, but you was missing in action. You wasn't there when the.
Come on, I was there when you had to see. I was right in the room with him when he came out.
Mr. Conway points out that Miss Cruz informed him of the pregnancy in July, and then she had the baby on January 17th. By counting the months, he questions if there was enough time for a full-term pregnancy. Miss Cruz confirms Trayvon was full-term, suggesting that Conway's absence wasn't as long as he claims. Conway, however, believes the timeline doesn't match up for him to be the father.
Well, even if it was 6 or 7 months, you're saying it's not enough time.
Not enough time.
Was
Came back
Trayvon
pregnant,
a full-term baby?
Yes, he was a full term.
He came back pregnant.
And Your Honor, I had a job, so I can't just go somewhere in 8 or 9 months and then whoop, come back.
So you're saying you weren't gone that long?
No,
Oh,
you know,
every
he
weekend,
got
man.
selective.
Come on.
He got selective memory.
Trayvon confirms that growing up, he knew Mr. Conway was his alleged father, even though there was no name on his birth certificate. He recalls instances of being with Conway, such as being taken to a strip club by him. The narrative depicts conflicting stories that only the DNA result may justify.
Mr. Conway, you are his father.
That's what I'm talking about. Get your life together. You ain't had no business question mine.
Yeah, I question it. I question it because he
We
questioned
don't
it.
want nothing from him.
Something, Your Honor.
What would you like to say, Mr.?
I accept your apology, but honestly, after 20 years, it's so embarrassing how you
Yes,
just talk
it
about
is.
my mom.